Just want to do this right. I'm accepting Dr. Hi there, we've got both of you.
Hello.
Hi. Good
Hi, how are you?
morning. I'm
Good
I'm
morning.
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm okay. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, you're alive. It's great to have you with us. This is Dr. Abu Warda from North Gaza. Yes, is that where you are?
Yes.
Where
From
are you
al-Shifa hospital.
at al-Shifa Hospital? Okay, and Nicole, who works with you, right? And you're joining us from
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Chattanooga, the Chattanooga Choo-Choo.
Yeah. Woo-hoo.
All right.
I'm sorry, I'm just so excited to see Abdullah right now. I'm just so happy to see him. I'm trying not to cry. I'm so sorry. I didn't expect to get overwhelmed. I'm just so happy to see you. Okay, pull it together. I'm so sorry.
Sorry. I mean, I don't even know what to ask. I don't even know what to say. I just want to open the floor for you to share with us anything you want to share. It's just so good to see you. Thank you for the work you're doing. I'm sorry you're having to do it. The whole world is watching and is there with you. And just tell us what's happening. Bit of a connection lag there.
Is it okay if I don't want to talk over him, so I'm just going to let it see if it resets itself.
Yeah,
here.
no, I mean.
So for those of you guys, if it's okay, Daniel, by the way, my heart is so full that you accepted our request to do this. I cannot even thank you enough. It's just, there aren't enough thank yous. Anyway, Dr. Abu Warda is one of 5 surgeons who's left at al-Shifa hospital. Last week on Wednesday, the hospital was determined officially collapsed, which is it was under 10% capacity. Then within 12 hours of that collapsing, the flower massacre happened. And hundreds of people inundated a place where there were only 3 operating rooms even left. There's been no fuel deliveries to al-Shifa, and the entire hospital runs on generators. And so it has been an incredibly harrowing experience for Dr. Abu Warda to try to, he and his family are sheltering in a bombed out school, and he does about an hour-and-a-half walk every single morning around 4:30 in the morning to walk to al-Shifa, and he does sometimes 6 to 24-hour shifts, endless surgeries. He's running on like 1 meal of young rice every single day that the hospital will give him. And he's a real life hero. I don't know how else to describe him. I've never in my life interacted with someone doing this type of work, the circumstances that he's doing it under. And Daniel, I'm sure you know this, there are no supplies left at al-Shifa, just none.
Yeah.
And the situation is truly just really, really grim.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Dr. Abu Warda, if you see in the pinned comment here, this is his GoFundMe, and just to kind of give, I don't want to just hustle for money because I know you probably have questions, but
Well, let's just pause for a second.
Yeah.
For those who aren't looking at the chat, there seems to be a consensus that hitting the heart button and the emoji button is going to slow the feed down. I'm not sure if that's true, but let's act as if it's true, because we want to do everything we can to help the connection so that we can hear from Dr. Abu Warda himself, although of course I'm sure there may be a lot of reasons where he is why the connection would be compromised, but maybe let's feel our emotions without relying on emojis just for a bit. I know it's hard.
Yeah, I do think that is correct. I've been in other lives where that's the situation. So if you guys want to stop hitting the heart button, that would be really appreciated. We feel all of your hearts, but the computer is going too fast for the internet. just you mentioned what the situation is now, so I just wanted to kind of give people a little bit of an update. So Dr. Warda is in Gaza City. Gaza City has been under almost 24-hour, I think we're running up on 36 hours now of just constant bombardment. And for those of you who don't know, this is already a place that is nearly flattened. And so, you know, this is where ground troops are, is the area where he is left. You know, Dr. Warda and I have been working on his GoFundMe campaign, and I don't know, he has a very unique situation in that he has committed to stay no matter what. He will stay at al-Shifa hospital. He will continue to serve his people. He will continue to serve the Palestinians, and especially the 500 to 700,000 who are stranded in the north. His request is that myself and everyone who is concerned help to fund his campaign, to feed his family of him and 20 other people, and to hopefully get some, if not all of them, out of Gaza to safety so that he can work day in and day out knowing that he got his young daughter and wife and brothers and their wives and nephews out.
Okay, so he just said he's trying but failed to reconnect. I wonder if I can help that. If I was to end his connection and then
start again,
reconnect. Yeah.
Sure.
Someone said turn off the comments, but if I turn off the comments, people can't see my pinned comment with the thing. You know.
Yeah.
So
I will default to whatever you'd like to do. I think either of those is fine.
Such a mystery. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to boot him off.
What if I took my video off and just went to audio? Do you think that might help? I don't know.
It's possible, but I feel like his picture is, I wonder if his connection is blocking him from coming back in, you know, because
Sure.
Do we start this again? I don't know. But he's still, I mean, he just DM'd me. He just DM'd us, right?
I say let's start it again, if you're okay with that. I hate to toss everybody off the live.
Oh, now he's gone. Okay, let's have him. He left.
Okay.
And maybe he'll now be free to rejoin. So let's see if he can rejoin, because I think he was in the chat there. Yeah, guys. I mean, on one level, it's a miracle that we can even speak with this man right now.
It really is. You know, I lost touch with Dr. Warda for a little over 24 hours, and it was really horrible. I know that that's insane because he's in the middle of a war zone. And I think it also bears repeating, and I know that you're aware of this, but where he is located right now is 7 miles from an Israeli beach town.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people really feel the gravity of that. Like, there is access, it's just not given. It's truly harrowing what these folks are trying to live through. It really is.
Yes. I mean, it's unimaginable, right?
What's
his handle? What's his handle again?
It's at Abdel Wahab, WAHAB.
Wahab. Okay.
Abdel Wahab.
Abdel Wahab. Okay.
Which I have learned to say.
Dr. Abdel Wahab. I'm just going to wait for him to rejoin the live. Once he gets in, we'll yeah.
By the way, I saw your post about trauma the other day. I thought it was apropos and perfectly put.
Okay, people are telling me that they can't even click the link in my pinned comment, so
let's just
never mind that. It's in my story anyway, so you can go to my stories and click it there. And in the meantime, I'm just gonna hopefully we're gonna have him rejoin. The minute he rejoins the chat, I'll invite him on.
For folks who are sticking around still, thank you so much. You can also follow at Abdel Wahab, ABDELWAHAB, or myself, which is at Bullet the Bunny. And I only say that because I do not want your follows, but I know that I have connection to him. So if you want to follow his story, whether he has connection to the internet or not, come on and follow me, and I will make sure that you get his information.
Yeah, and Nicole, obviously, thanks for doing that work, with him and for him and for us. How did you guys get connected in the meantime as we wait for him?
Sure. So I follow Dr. Mark Lamont Hill's work professionally and have done for about 10, 15 years. And he launched his own YouTube channel not long ago. I mean, I don't know, time is completely elusive to me at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I watch his lives all the time. Anyway, he went live with a gentleman named Kareem Abu Samra, and who was living in Turkey trying to get his family out. I listened to his story, was very moved by it, connected with Kareem. We were connected for a few weeks. I did an art project to fundraise for his campaign. And then he connected me to Sarah, who is, for those of you guys watching, it's Mental Health is Magic, is her handle. And she is the director of a project called Project Watermelon. For those of you who don't know, GoFundMe is, you cannot start a GoFundMe as a Palestinian. You can't start a GoFundMe unless you are in Canada, the United States, Europe, or Australia. There might be a couple of other countries in there, but very, very few. And so anyone who has a GoFundMe has had to have some kind of sponsor outside of there. And that is where I came in. And he was looking for a sponsor. We got connected, started talking. Now we talk as much as is possible.
Yeah.
He's my first text in the morning, my last text at night. I stay up till he wakes up in the morning. He stays up to make sure he can say hello to me. I feel honored and terrified all at the same time. I'm sure, of course, with your background in mental health, I have, my personal opinion is that a lot of people are resisting knowing this information and interacting with it.
Yeah, Nicole, I'm just going to interrupt you because he says he's sent the request. I'm not receiving it because the bottom of my screen is now frozen. I actually can't do any of the things.
Sure.
Which tells me I think we should stop this, restart it. So Dr. Abdel Wahab, if you're watching, or Dr. Abu Warda, I'm sorry, we're gonna stop this. We're gonna start again, and we'll get you on, and hopefully, God willing, it'll all go right. So Nicole, thank you, and I'll see you again in just a minute. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Trying this again. Trying this again. We're going to try this again, folks. We are doing the unimaginable. We're speaking across oceans and across occupation walls and across freaking blockades to even manage to have him hear us is a miracle, much less being able to see his face and talk to him. So we're all sending him our love, our gratitude, our prayers, right? Now let's see if we can get him back on. Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
I'm not closing the comments yet because it's the only way it tells me whether he's in the room or not. So, yeah, I guess just be fill with the comments if you can. But I'm not going to police you. All right. He has gotten the message that he's going to rejoin. I don't know if you guys can tell. I'm completely at a loss for words doing. To be this directly connect. I mean, this is what Palestinians are going through every day, I suppose, right? With family there, like
absolutely,
there's no 1 degree of separation, if any. But for me, here I am, doing Instagram activism, but this is the first time I'm speaking to someone who's there, and it just gets really real. And this is your life every day, Nicole.
Yeah, yes, and I think Daniel, you're making an excellent point, which is my
here he comes.
I'm sorry.
I said here he comes.
Oh.
I hope, but keep going.
Oh,
until he yeah.
My take is that people are incredibly resistant to feel this, and I understand that, right? This is very hard, and I would not suggest otherwise. But my question to those people would be is that, like, it's a really
Hi. Welcome back. Can you hear us? Nicole, I'm going to let the two of you have a conversation. You guys know each other so well, you know?
I just want to say it is so good to see your face. I'm
Hello.
just so happy to see you.
Hello. Okay, I'm turning off the comments now, unless you want me to keep them on.
Turn them off.
Are you hearing now?
Yes, we hear you now. We see you, we hear you. We're so happy to see you and hear you.
Me too.
Tell us what's going
I'm
on
Dr.
there right
Warda
now.
What's going on?
from North Gaza City. I'm working at al-Shifa hospital, at one of the biggest hospitals in the North Gaza City. Now situation very bad, get worse every day. We are lost all medical supplies or medical aid or food, nothing found here. We are receiving all patient on the ground, no bed to the patient, just a ground, or outside the hospital. The hospital have now thousands of wounded patients and no medical supply found for the patient. Also no ICU beds, just 3 ICU in all the hospital. One day hospital covered North Gaza Strip around 600,000 patients, people. Just 3 bed in ICU. Now we don't have anything. We are lost.
So if you can hear us, we lost the connection there for a moment.
I think he's talking about how in the first week.
He's done with the bombing of his own home.
We don't hear anything. I can't hear.
I think he's talking about in the first 2 weeks, and then a lot of us will remember in November they bombed al-Shifa hospital.
Yes.
And over 500 people were killed and wounded. There was thousands wounded. In the very first week of the war, his house, his family home, their businesses was completely destroyed. He lost 31 members of his family in 24 hours.
Okay. And al-Shifa was, of course, Israel's big prize. This is the one that they were so, you know, they advertised that they were going to show the world the command center or something underneath it, which has been debunked by every local and international medical personnel who's ever worked there.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the very flimsy evidence that was presented was like if I remember correctly, a piece of paper that had the days of the week on it.
Yeah. Those hateful words, Monday, Tuesday.
Oh my goodness.
The most anti-Semitic word in their history of the world, Wednesday.
Yeah, and I know that another thing that I just want people to know is what the staff there, the remaining staff, which is not a lot, is going through is just beyond comparison. A lot of people have lost all of their families. They are living on the floor in the hospital. There is very limited power. They have like cut power to just one wing of the hospital. I'm sorry, Danny, do you want to try to reconnect him or?
Well, I'm just writing to him to tell him because he just left.
Okay.
So the minute he comes back and makes the request, he'll be back.
Okay, great. Do you want me to keep going? Or
yes, I very much
okay.
do.
So anyway, at al-Shifa, what he was saying is right now, he sent me pictures and stuff. They're literally out in the parking lot for sunlight, so that they can treat people on the ground. Parking lot is a strong word. What I mean to say is the concrete left filled with rubble.
Yeah.
And you know, it cannot be overstated the amount of human beings that inundated the hospital. And again, I remind you, 12 hours after the hospital was declared collapsed, fully collapsed. That's when the Flower Massacre happened. I do not find that to be a coincidence. And the nearest place that they could go was al-Shifa, and there's nothing there. And in addition to that, there's probably 5,000 or 6,000 people who are not patients, are not staff, that are trying to shelter there. And so, you know, because it is standing still, or at least parts of it are standing. It's just it's a situation that I never, just sort of like what you were saying, I've done a lot of activism for the last like 20 plus years. I've worked in a lot of weird, very traumatic spaces. I've never in my life been connected to something like this so closely. And what Dr. Warda is doing every single day is something that I cannot even imagine trying to take on. He has a little daughter who's I think 3, Marita, and he has a wife. He was in school in Egypt, coming back and forth. For those of you who don't know, before the war, during just occupation, if you want to drive out of the Gaza Strip, you have to drive your car down like al-Shifa Street, which is basically runs the entire length of the strip. And you go through like 16 checkpoints. Then when you get to the end, you have to abandon your car and walk 2.5 miles. And then in order for him to get to Egypt, to the university, he has to get into another car in Egypt and drive there. I guess what I'm saying is the level of compartmentalization, the level of siege that has been inflicted, and yet this man has gone on and gotten medical degrees and is now a surgeon. I mean, it's impossible to try to imagine.
Yeah, and that's exemplary of the fact that the population of Gaza is one of the most highly educated in the world.
Exactly.
Under those conditions, it says a lot.
Absolutely. And another thing that I've noticed, and this is just in the last, so after the second intifada is when I got really involved in this issue. That's when I was in college doing my undergraduate. And every Palestinian person that, and I'm obviously, this is a pejorative. I'm not trying to, this is a pejorative, but everyone that I've ever interacted that is Palestinian has an acute awareness of the political situation, of the social situation. There isn't the same type of willful ignorance that I think that we have in the West.
I don't think you mean pejorative. I think you just mean it's a generalization.
Thank you. You're right. I apologize.
Pejorative would mean you're insulting.
No. I apologize. Yeah. You're right. I apologize. Yeah. Thank you for correcting me.
Right.
Anyway, but my point being is that, you know, it can't be overstated, the requirement of education. It is required to know your rights, to know who can stop you, to know who can talk to you, to know who you can get connected to know which person in power is doing this or that. And for those, again, back to what I was saying is I think people are resistant to get involved in this because it feels so real and visceral. It also makes...
Once again, I've just realized that the bottom of my screen has once again frozen such that I won't be able to admit him even if he comes back. So I think we should stop, publish this, and give him another chance to join.
Love it. I think it's a great plan. Again, thank you so much for your patience. Everyone who's tuning in, and you, Daniel, I really sincerely appreciate this.
Great, cool. You're absolutely, I mean, never mind. You're welcome. Thank you. Give me 90 seconds.
No, you're fine.
And again, I'm just telling him. I'm just telling him to him. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna publish this first because this will come out in
Perfect.
chunks. You know, whatever we can get with him, even a moment with him is worth it, right?
Oh, can I just say you've made my entire day. All I've wanted to do is put eyes on this man, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. Okay, all right, let's get off. I'm not gonna cry.
All right, folks. Go to my stories in the meantime. Find, I think, the latest one, and there's a link there to the GoFundMe for him and his family who desperately need it. And you know, supporting this man is to support every single person he's treating, and the oh, okay, wait a minute. He he just sent me a message that I'm going to read out to everybody, and then I'm going to restart it. Okay. He says, "Hello, my name is Dr. Abdel Wahab. I'm a Palestinian doctor from Gaza, and I'm a surgeon. Sorry, I'm communicating with him as we speak. I'm sending this to you because I really need your support to bring back part of what my life was like before. My family and I are in dire need of your support, and time is of the essence. I've decided to send this message after great contemplation and hesitation. When I realized that there are no longer any options left for me to support my family here or keep them safe. The situation in Gaza is very dear. I am currently one of some surgeons still working and helping our patients. I have been working 4 hospitals during the war, from hospital to hospital. Can you help me by sharing the GoFundMe link? Here is the page. And that GoFundMe link is available through my stories right now. And once this video goes into the archives, I'll put it in the comments and pin it so anyone watching this at any time can find it. And I'll just say, look, I've received a lot of GoFundMe requests in my DMs. It's hard. I don't know what to do. Like, I get 100 of these a day. It's, you know, when it comes to a surgeon um, saving lives, I mean, it's terrible. I can't sort out which ones are real, which ones are, you know, but we know that this one is real, and we know that this is a man who is putting everything on the line and pushing his body, his mind, his soul, his heart to the limit to try to save lives and keep healthcare going in that place. And so, yeah, I'll just I'll just say, I mean, what else? Again, words fail.
I agree, and I will say also, Daniel, I just want to validate what you're saying. If you saw my requests, I mean, it's just, I'm inundated with tons of messages. It's very difficult. I imagine everyone here is just having a hard time figuring out how to jump into this double dutch, right? And I do want to let folks know that there is at Project Watermelon is doing, we have lawyers and doctors, they're vetting all of the GoFundMes, all of the IDs. If you go to at Mental Health is Magic, you can go to the link in my bio as well.
Okay,
There's
great.
a list of GoFundMes that have been vetted. But yes, Dr. Warda is not even raising money to leave. He doesn't want to leave. I think that cannot be overstated. He doesn't want to leave. He wants his family to be safe so he can continue to treat the people who need him.
Okay, so
And
let's try to get him back. Okay.
sure. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you for
Thanks.
that. No, and then we'll reiterate it in the next
Perfect.
video because it can't be said enough. Okay. Thanks, Nicole.
Okay.
Hi again.
Hi.
I'm not sure if he's seen my message, but
Here,
the minute he
I'll
we'll get him back. Folks who are looking for the donate link, please go to my stories. Go to the most recent one. People are asking if we can just try just me and him. I don't think that'll make a difference because right now he's not currently even. I don't think he's rejoined us yet, and I don't want to. Like, at least if Nicole is here, we can keep the conversation going. I'd be shocked if the existence of the 3 of us
We
makes a
had
difference.
similar connectivity issues when we were on with Laura at Gaza Girl. I guess so far he and I have not been able to do any video chats with each other. I think that's another thing that people may not fully, completely understand. We take for granted the internet. There is no power left in northern Gaza. So everything is running off of fuel generators. And if you are getting information out of northern Gaza, or Gaza City in general, or any of those journalists, they're basically having to scale on top of rubble to get reception and stuff. Sometimes he climbs to the top of the hospital just to send me a photo. It's a very, I feel incredibly grateful for this platform, for social media, to be able to even make these connections. But it's insane that this is where we're at. Do you know what I mean? That we're relying on Instagram to try to connect us with this man. I mean,
Oh, there he is. There he is. Okay. Bam. Praying for a good connection here.
And if you guys would pause with the emojis, just because it's a dynamic content, it may be messing up with the thing.
I'm turning off the comments anyway.
Okay.
Hi, doctor.
Connection. Connection very, very, very bad. I can't hear or see anything.
But just seeing your face
is... You are hearing me or not?
Hold on, let me write to him.
You can't hear anything.
We're not saying anything right now. What? Hello, can you hear us now? Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Now I can see you.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. Internet very bad. Very bad. I'm running from place to place due to bad connection. Nothing to do.
It's a miracle we can see you at all.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. I want to say to all people, I want to live. I don't want to live Gaza. I will stay in Gaza to help our patient. I don't leave Gaza. I want to evacuate family.
He wants to live. He wants to stay in Gaza. He wants to evacuate his family, right? But he wants to stay himself.
My family member. So I'm getting from me. Help me to evacuate my family outside Gaza, especially to Egypt. After that, I don't know where.
So he's trying to get his family to safety. And he's trying to create the conditions where he can stay and do this heroic work. We heard you, doctor. We heard you.
That's
what
shelter.
al-Shifa looks
our
right
shelter
now.
In Saudi.
We see.
We have lost everything. We don't have anything now. I don't know if you're hearing
we
me.
We are hearing you perfectly. We are hearing you.
I don't hear
We hear you.
Okay.
So he showed us some images of just bare concrete floors. I don't know if those were bodies on the floor or patients or just makeshift beds. I don't know what that was, what we were seeing.
Well, there are some photos that small snippets of photos and videos that he's been able to upload since he's been there. But almost all of them are people just on the floor. Do you know what I mean? There's just nothing left. And, you know, especially when the lights, imagine for just a second, trying to just doctor a paper cut in the dark, right? So trying to do general surgery on people with frag wounds and gunshot wounds in the dark, I mean, in addition to that, the only place that they have been able to light sometimes is like this one section of operating rooms. And then everybody else just spills out into the ground out in front of the hospital because it's where they can get the most light. It's unimaginable. I've never seen anything created in cinema that can compare to what he tells me about.
No, I think, I mean, the thought had been creeping in a few months ago, but now it's just beyond obvious. This is the cruelest, most depraved atrocity in my lifetime by far.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, I got into activism after the Rwandan genocide. And, and obviously that was very visceral, but it cannot, for everyone feeling this crunch, like we're not meant to watch genocide 24 hours a day on Instagram. Do you know what I mean? Like none of us are meant to do that. And so I completely understand why people are so overwhelmed with it. I hope that you can find community with people like Daniel and with all these other humans who are working so hard to connect people and to try to tell this story. You know, I personally feel so grateful. It has like opened my life up, the people that I've been able to be connected to. I feel more alive than I have in a long time. And I feel terrified a lot too, but I'm balancing those emotions, you know?
Yeah, it's really something how not looking away from death actually connects you to being alive. We would think that, and you were actually saying something earlier. I wanted you to finish that thought because you were speaking directly to me in terms of we don't let ourselves feel this entirely. And I'll tell you, I don't let myself feel it. Even in this moment, I have a hard limit, or maybe it's a soft limit, but it's like, I don't know, I'd need some kind of psychedelic to like get past the mental block that keeps me on a certain level of like, okay, here are the facts, or here's the irony, or here's the, you know what I'm saying? Like my social media persona is not me crying about this stuff. It's me kind of staying on top of it and trying to help people stay regulated, which means something in me is regulating myself. But like, what were you gonna this is not about me, but you were gonna say about like we keep ourselves from feeling it, and how do you navigate that?
Well, I don't know that I have any, I mean, I don't know is the real answer. I wish
Thank
I
you.
had some magic thing,
No,
but I think it would be disingenuous to say
that's
otherwise.
the answer.
I can't, it's revolting to me what my feed looks like. It's revolting to me what the stories I post have to be. You know, my personal Nicole Hawkins approach has been, it's important for me, for my community here in Tennessee, for people who know me here, I want them to see what's going on, the efforts to shut this down from everyone. And so even people who are reticent to put their toe in, I don't even think they really know what they're trying to put their toe into. The ignorance around this issue is intentional, is deliberate. And I invite everyone to open yourself to what's going on. It is scary and you will feel a lot. Do you know what I mean? No, we aren't meant to see these things, but I truly believe in the power of people and community, and the inertia and the momentum that this movement is getting, I don't think can be understated. It seems flat when we're talking about Dr. Warda. You know, this is my friend who I'm doing everything I can so that he and his family don't starve to death. You know, they do not have a safe and consistent access to food. And, you know, we have raised money in the GoFundMe, and just to give people a perspective, to buy one bag of flour, $1,000, one bag of flour. And when and a lot of people, I've also seen a lot of criticisms about people who's like, oh, people, when the aid gets in, you know, these people will take it and then sell it back to people. But I think what people have to understand is this isn't war profiteering. There's no one who isn't desperate. There is no one. These are people who are selling $1,000 bag of flour so that they can trade to try to find some insulin for their grandmother.
No, but,
You know,
and also to anyone who even has that thought, like, I want to utter the most damning curse word I can even think of. How dare you? Why don't we talk about the Warsaw Ghetto or Auschwitz, okay, and start passing judgment on the internal economy of the thing, and how the prisoners and inmates or the people walled in that ghetto handled supply. Like, fuck off. Like we don't
exactly.
have, like, we have beyond no right to, it's the most cowardly thing in the world to not even pause for a second to consider that I don't have the right to judge a damn thing that those people do right now. Which
Absolutely.
which if we wanted to be consistent, actually, we might consider that we don't have the right to judge anything that comes out of that place ever. Our preferences, our tastes, our little feelings, and our, like, political aesthetic aside. Oh, I'm a nonviolent person. Good for you. If you understand this, and this is why, I will never condemn any aspect of this resistance, because I don't have the right to.
Exactly. And I think, yeah, my own personal philosophy about giving in general is that it's the act of giving that I'm doing. I didn't come with conditions. I didn't say, here's $10, go do this thing with it. You know, that's number one. But yes, absolutely. There's a secondary economy in just survival right now. And on the secondary economy part, you know, I did want to also mention that I think that something else I've been hearing a lot, there's a lot of misinformation about, is none of these people are being paid. Dr. Warda hasn't been paid. It's not like doctors are getting money. He hasn't been paid. He's lost everything he's ever built in his life in what is colloquially being known as an open air prison, and managed to scrape out this crevice for himself in the world, and it's destroyed. It's gone. And so every nurse you see, every ambulance driver you see, every person with their hands digging people out of rubble, none of those people are being paid. Nothing. There is no money. And so that's why these GoFundMe's have come up. It's completely shut down. And I will remind people as well, and I'm sorry I'm getting a little heated here, but there are hundreds of aid trucks sitting at Reyes Crossing right now being blocked by settlers. There are hundreds of aid trucks sitting at Rafah Crossing right now being blocked by settlers. The food, and again, I think it bears repeating, where he is right now, 7 miles from a beach resort. Think about that. Think if you knew someone who is 7 miles from you starving to death, wouldn't you get in your car and drive to them and give them something? The depravity is endless. It really is. I apologize. I'm
No, no,
kind of getting heated.
no. There's absolutely no apologies needed in this space. Your heating is overdue. We all need it.
I just, you know, also, please don't lose momentum for the movement. Do you know what I mean? And I want everyone to understand, my account is not monetized in any way. I do not use it to make money or anything like that. If you follow along to me, it is me connecting you to the human beings that I am connected to in Palestine. And I don't even particularly care to be on this medium because of how I feel like it affects me personally. But we have no choice now. Anyone who's working in this sphere has no choice. This is it. This is what's been left to us. You know, in addition to that, you know, the level of shadow banning and censorship and things getting pulled down is wild. I definitely don't want to get off on that topic, but I will just use one example, which is I made a comment on a post about Jon Stewart losing his dog. I had to put my dog down last week, which, by the way, in the middle of a war zone, Dr. Albert Warda sent me messages of love and comfort about having to put my dog down. Can you imagine that? This man sees death every single day, and he took time out of his time to go and comfort me. It's unimaginable. It's just unimaginable. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry about your dog.
Thank you. She was a good girl.
Yeah.
And I was so angry. I made a video that I still haven't posted because I don't know how to, but just sitting there being like, I could not be present for my animal who, again, I am not trying to personify animals, but this is a very important life to me.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there holding her, and I'm just envisioning children taking their last breath in Gaza. I could not stop thinking about Dr. Abu Warda. I could not stop thinking about my friend Kareem's niece and nephew sitting in a tent in Rafah, terrified of thunder now,
Yeah.
because it grabs airstrikes out of their mind.
Yep.
And will never forgive people for robbing me of my ability to be present, because all I can do, my heart is 100% in Gaza every day, 100% of the time. I don't even know what my point was. I'm so sorry.
Nicole, you need to say this. You need people to hear this. So that's your point.
Yes, and
you don't have to have a point. Yeah, I was just thinking, here I am, I'm like sipping on my coffee. Oh, my coffee's almost out. Do I want to have another coffee? Oh, I just noticed I haven't eaten breakfast yet today. I wonder what I'm like. My mind automatically goes to, what am I going to walk right over there and supply my body with that not only will meet its basic requirements, but will be like extra tasty. Like it's just that I get like, that's just my automatic setting. I'm not even, trying to be a fancy little bougie privilege prince. But the minute I hear myself asking those questions, I realize those are not automatic things for human beings. A human being does not automatically get to ask that. And I mean, there's people living in poverty all the time who don't really have those kinds of luxuries. But then there's fucking this. And Dr. Abu Wada hasn't asked himself that question in at least months. And I feel my body's physical hunger, and then I just imagine what would that be like multiplied by 100, 500 days in a row.
And can you think of a more greedy task for your brain to do than cutting someone open? I think people, the calories that you consume, your brain is the greediest organ you have. It is scooping up tons of those calories, right? And think about the mental focus it takes to cut a person up and sew them back together and all this type of thing. And you're doing it on a handful of way too young hard rice a day. And that's what he sometimes is not even able to get. And it's anyway, it's just unimaginable. And when we talk, sometimes I try to talk about regular things just to, and by the way, when I say talk, I mean text, because that's usually what's more consistent. But I asked him, like, what do you like to do and stuff. He loves to drive. He misses driving. He loves going to the beach. He loves the smell of the sea. He loves playing with his little girl. And
have you asked him how he's, I mean, this is such a bourgeois, this is such a first world kind of question. So that even, I wonder if there's a way to ask it that would, or maybe it's not, I don't know. This is how disconnected I am from scarcity. But like, how do you take care of yourself in a time like this? Now, obviously he has no time to take care of himself, but I just wonder internally if there's anything he's communicated to you about, does his mind and body automatically not go into a panic shutdown overwhelm, or is there I'm just, not that this matters in a way, but I feel like I'm curious about it, so other people might be. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Have you wondered this?
Like, I can't exactly. How are you not just like in a corner, just shaking all the time? I get you.
How are your eyes and your voice still soft? How are you smiling? We saw him.
I know.
We saw him there, and it was not the image of the perfect victim, scared, pleading. What it was, it was a human being.
Yes.
Still being a human being.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have talked. I will echo your whole like first world problems. We have had conversations where I have chatted with him about taking care of himself, making sure that he sleeps. Every once in a while, I big sister him, and I'm like, "When's the last time you ate? When's the last time you slept?" Da 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 da. And you know, Project Watermelon has access to mobile mental health providers and stuff. This is not this is not possible. You see how hard we're having with just the connection, but it has definitely been something that I have toe dipped into, because I am also, it's so important for me to make sure that he knows that he's connected to someone just to keep his spirits up. You know what I mean? And I will say that, you know, what he's expressed to me about his main concern, what he says to me multiple times a day, every single day, it's just like, I need to help my family. You know, he's basically in charge of his family now. He's the man of his family, and this is all he wants to do.
So who's still alive?
So he has brothers and wives still alive, and some nephews. It's 20 people, and I'll be honest, I can't just run them off right off. His immediate family has a wife and a young daughter. There are 5 children under 8 in his group of people, and they sort of, his kind of extended family, they are what they were. We haven't actually had a chance to catch back up, but 24 hours ago, they were sheltering together in 2 rooms that are concrete, and they've managed to drag some mattresses in there, and that's where they've been at for the last couple of months. I just wanted to also, you know, about the flower massacre, which he experienced right up close and personal. You know, I wrote an update on his GoFundMe about this. He described to me that it's the worst Thursday he's ever lived through in his life. And keep in mind, he's lived through 150 days of the most horrendous conflict that we've ever watched. And, you know, he talks, now I'm having a hard time convincing him to go and meet people to get the money I'm trying to get to him, or get the food I'm trying to get to him, because he and many people there see these aid drops as traps, as bait for a trap. You know, when you see these videos of the military dropping, you know, 100 of these little packages, and then you see that it's basically like 2 hiking backpacks filled with MREs, it's so disappointing. And, you know, people having to, you know, swim out a quarter mile into the sea to get them. And, you know, meanwhile, Dr. Warda is who informed me of, and I was ignorant, because I would, every time there'd be a drop by the Jordanian government, I would just be like, oh my gosh, can you get to this drop? Can you get to this drop? And he's like, they just go straight to the courtyard of the Jordanian hospital, meaning like they aren't accessible to anyone but there. They seem to be able to drop those right on target.
And didn't the U.S. military drop some at sea?
Yes.
And what's crazy about that, I forget who it was who pointed this out. It might have been my brother Aaron or Max Blumenthal on the Gray Zone stream. It just demonstrates this lie that, I mean, if the U.S. military has to do these stunts to drop things out at sea, then what is this lie that Israel wants to let humanitarian aid in and is trying? Like, if even the U.S. has to resort to dropping packages uselessly out in the ocean, well, then clearly they're not using any leverage to get this stuff in.
Exactly. And I think I also find it, I find it disgusting, if I'm being honest. So I read in an article, and I'm please forgive me if I misquote the numbers, but that there were 36,000 meals dropped by the United States government yesterday onto northern Gaza. 36,000 meals. There are 700,000 people trapped in northern Gaza. There's 1.5 million people at Rafah. What? 36,000 meals? Like that's a joke, especially when you consider that right now in Congress there are multiple bills to increase billions of dollars of aid for the weaponry that is putting these people in this situation to require that aid. In addition to that, as I have said before, and I will continue to say, there are hundreds of trucks right now at the border. Why not let them in? And the answer is because this is intentional. And if there is nothing at this point that anyone could say to me that would make me think otherwise with everything that's unraveled. And if you're still on the fence thinking that the United States government is in some way trying to, trying to convince the Israelis, and this is all just something happening halfway around the world, and we're trying so hard, and da da da. It's not true. It's just it's false. It's not true. It's just not true.
I think it's the cruelty boggles my own mind, and I don't think it's just because I was raised to think of Israel as a basically decent place with some problems.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I grew up going to a Israel-focused summer camp, and we all had our criticisms of it, but fundamentally there was a kind of, you know, well, there's like goodness there, and I think there is goodness in Israel, and there are people who are good Israelis, but now we're starting to sound like we're talking about World War II, right? But I'm talking about the cruelty of that regime, that government, that military, and that entire propaganda system.
Well, and I
I
blame
think
people in power.
it just, well, I am blaming people. That's not the
Yeah.
point I'm trying to make. I'm just trying to say my mind can't, it needs to constantly reset itself to be able to make space for the possibility that any country, any government, any army could be this cruel, this dishonest, and this evil, actually. I'll just name it. I've never seen evil like this before, ever in my life. And I wasn't alive during the thing my dad lived through, where he was sleeping on a concrete floor in a, you know, in a glass factory that had been converted into a tenement for, you know, however many families sleeping in a small room, and he almost died of dysentery. I mean, I would have to think about it to decide which of those two situations I'd rather be in. That's how bad this is. But unlike what happened then, Nazi Germany wasn't on a propaganda tour telling the world that this either isn't happening or that it's the people's. They were just doing it. It was, you know, people didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
They knew something. This is right out in the open. There are well-dressed, nicely manicured, good-looking, well-spoken, Oxford-educated spokespeople of this barbarity who get to go on the news every day and calmly explain. That's a level of cruelty. Plus, it's being done with the support. Like, Germany didn't need the US's support to do what it did. You know, it had its own genocide economy. Like it was self-sufficiently genocidal.
Mm-hmm.
Israel's doing it with the tax dollars of everyone who lives here, where you are, where I am. We've never seen anything like this. So it's not just Israeli evil. It's a whole evil worldwide system, and the concentrated cruelty of it, that it's being visited on this one. I think there's never been anything like it, actually. I've been holding back on making a hyperbolic, big, generalized statement, but I think we're getting to the point where we could just say, like, this is evil like we've never seen.
Yes. The speed, I do not think that's too strong of or hyperbolic at all, only because I will say, Daniel, I do want to validate what you're saying. I felt the same way. You know, I've studied history. I have political science is what my professional, anyway, but I've studied a lot of things, and you don't want to compare suffering, right? You don't want to
You
go
also
like,
don't want to be hyperbolic.
sure,
You don't want to make overheated statements, and, you know.
But at this point, I don't know. For me as an American, and I'm curious to know if you feel the same way, is just that it is the level of concentrated disinformation, and also just forcing the narrative away from reality, like the constant reframing of information. I'm certainly not a person who will try to say that, like, American news has ever been excellent at giving you the full on facts. But I've never seen anything like this. You know, there's the old media, you know, slogan of, like, if it bleeds, it leads. And Dr. Mark Lamont Hill wrote a book in conjunction with someone else, and I'm forgetting their name, I apologize, but it's called Except for Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's if people haven't read it, please you know, in your all your free time, try to read. But I guess my point is that this book illustrates basically that this was always going to happen. What I mean to say by that is there is, and I'm also surprised at how not surprised anyone who's Palestinian is by this coverage, especially American Palestinians. They're just like, yep, this is what we expect. How disappointing, how incredibly disappointing. It really is. And I've been, obviously I follow your father and your brothers and you and your story. And I think that it's so important to talk about, and you made a post the other day about trauma. And one thing that I'd like to just kind of center this is like, I think that this is exactly the result you get when people are inundated with violence and trauma that is never actually like healed or worked on. What I mean to say is like you know, it just, I'm very hesitant. I was very hesitant to be so like in on one side or the other of this issue because of, you know, I have like very strong links to the Jewish community, and I don't want to isolate people who feel like, you know, I guess in the beginning, I think
I understand in the beginning, right?
Sure.
Keep going, but you just saw what my body did with that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And in the beginning, that's how I felt. But obviously, I've completely abandoned that. And if anyone wants to ask me directly, I would love to have a conversation. But I guess the point is that one group of people's trauma and desire to find safety does not completely erase another group of people's ability to have safety.
Here's the thing. We even need to look. People have been calling me out, and I've been like pushing back on that. Like I get into these things that I talk about Jewish trauma, and they're like, this is not the point. The point is colonialism, evil, genocide, imperialism. And I'm like, yes, I know that, but I'm not erasing that. I'm just saying that Israel is an example of what happens when a people reacts to its own trauma in the wrong way, right? And I'm not talking about the Holocaust, because the Holocaust happened way after Zionism started, but it's part of it, right? So I'm talking about psychological, spiritual, human dynamics here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people appreciate it, and some people are like, shut the fuck up. Like, that's not what's happening right now. And but actually in this moment, like, I get it. I'm not saying I'm wrong for talking about that stuff. We can look at things from multiple dimensions. But in terms of what I dismissed when you said that, what my body wanted to say, screw that, is you're very connected to the Jewish community, right? What I want to say is this has nothing to do with the Jewish community, much less the Jewish community's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that I'll say this, and I'll stand by everything else I've said about trauma, but the fact that Jews all over the world have a psychological and emotional connection to this place, and they have ideas about what it is and what it could have been and what they want it to be and what they need it to be and what it might be for them if some hypothetical calamity was to happen down the line that isn't happening. The fact that the Jews around you have this complicated internal psychological fucked up relationship, quite frankly, with this place has nothing to do with the Palestinians whatsoever. It has nothing to do with what's happening, and it should stop you for less than a half a second. It shouldn't even stop you for that long from speaking what's happening. This is not about the Palestinians versus the Jewish community. To the extent that Jews have been cognitively, morally, emotionally hamstrung by this and are having a hard time speaking out about it, that's our problem. That's our problem, and we're going to have to deal with it and atone for it for a long time. When I say our, I'm allowing myself to say we for the whole thing. It's, but that is my community.
Yeah.
But do not, even if you're going to be trauma aware, do not let your awareness of trauma confuse you to the point where the feelings of Jewish people around you stop you from saying or seeing what's going on. People's feelings, I mean, if there was ever a fuck your feelings moment, it's this.
And I
I
think
don't know if I've
it's
ever...
important to explore why, you know? Do you know what I mean? Like what, you know, Dr. Warda and I have talked a lot. It's so important to explore those feelings, but I also think it's important not to transpose those feelings. Do you know what I mean? Like your feelings of insecurity aren't, I'm not testing that. Do you know what I mean? I'm not trying to make you feel more insecure. When I say you, I mean whoever is having this conversation with me, you know? And so it's like, I'm not trying to test your security. So if your feelings are so fragile that like even the idea of any kind of competing idea with yours, it flusters you to a point where you have to like, you know, expound all this outrage. It really is, I think, a good point for some internal, you know, inventory taking.
It is, and no one should stick around to make sure you either do or don't do it. Like literally, I'm saying to people, like, and I am trauma aware and I am sensitive to Jewish feelings, but I said it in the video I did with my dad and my brother. What I want is for the Jewish community to grow up already.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, we're not going to grow up, or people are not going to grow up as long as they're coddled.
Well, and I'll tell you from now, so I'm in Tennessee, and the evangelical movement in Israel, I think, is something that doesn't get a ton of attention.
Oh, the Christian evangelical movement.
Yeah. It's and so there's
there are
folks here.
There are more Christian Zionists in the world than there are Jewish
Absolutely.
Zionists.
Buildings named after people that run churches down the street from me in Israel. And you ask yourself why. And then it's bizarre to me, this connection of like, oh, because all the evangelical Christians want the Jews to be there so that when Jesus comes back and burns them all down, we can go to heaven. What? Like, it's such an odd partnership that has been made. But I say this all, you know, all this comparison of Zionism to white supremacy, I think is really what people are missing. Do you know what I mean? It's not, again, I'm not saying that all Jews are white. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am saying is this idea that there's this hegemon that we have to continue to prop up, you know?
No, but it's the white Jews that invented Zionism. It's not that all Jews are white, but it's the white Jews that invented Zionism. It's not all white Jews either. Most at the time that Zionism was created, Zionism was a very unpopular movement. Most of the Jews in the world, in Europe, were communists, right? Which is about universalism. It's about class solidarity. It's not about nationalism. They understood that nationalism is the fucking problem. But some white assimilated non-religious Jews were like, no, we want into the nation state game. And then, of course, who did the non-white Jews become to them? Savages, barbarians that you needed to either lump in with the rest of the Arab world or bring them over through any means necessary, subjugate them and Stockholm them into becoming your most fervent, foot soldiers. And today you see, footage of like Israeli police beating Israeli protesters. A lot of times those police are the darker skinned Israelis, and it's like you see in America too. So white supremacy finds ways of outsourcing its dirty work even onto its own victims.
Absolutely. And I think I completely agree with you. And I hope that people are, and the links can't be like, there's so many links that we can't even make them all, right? So a lot of people don't, what's the things that surprise me? People who don't know that a lot of Nazi Germany was modeled after Jim Crow South. A lot of people don't know that a lot of these, for instance, I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. The police chief, the most recently hired police chief, was trained in Israel by the IDF in crowd suppression and military techniques. Chattanooga, Tennessee. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, what? And our mayor my congressional Representative Chuck Fleischman, is, in the last 3 weeks was meeting with people from the Israeli Knesset and is just like bought and paid for. My mayor went to a film festival for, an Israeli sponsored film festival just last week. And that's the only thing he's posted about the conflict at all. And again, this is for folks who don't understand how deep the permeation of this type of thinking and all the intersectionality, just like there's intersectionality with liberation movements, there's same intersectionality with, you know, oppressors, right? So there's all this intersectionality between American oppressive folks and the oppressors in the world. And I just hope that people continue to like uncover those connections and really evaluate their own thoughts. And you know, I just want to bring it, if it's okay, back to Dr. Warda here and just say
we should, and then I'm going to need to.
Oh, of course,
wrap it up. I've got I've got some other things.
Sure. So just to, if it's okay, I just want to just review really quick. You know, Dr. Warda is one of 5 surgeons left at al-Shifa Hospital. He has a GoFundMe page. This page is primarily to make sure that him and his family of 20 can eat. And in addition to that, we'd love to get as many people in his family out of Gaza. He has committed to staying and helping the Gazan people, specifically the people around Gaza City, where there is just not enough medical attention whatsoever. He will not leave. And any support, whether you share, engage with, like, comment, follow him, follow me, follow the project, whatever it is, anything, even if you can't give $1, if you could just please share this story with someone else. It's not one life or even 21 lives that you're supporting. You're supporting the entire community of the Gazan city population and also people in northern Gaza. And this is required. You cannot have a war without doctors. I mean, I wish we didn't have wars at all, but you have to have doctors to treat humans who are being injured, innocent human people. Half the population in Gaza is children. This is a war on children, just mutilated children bodies constantly. And they need people like Dr. Warda so that he can stay strong and his brain can have strength so he can do proper surgeries on them. And please follow along with his story. When he can, he posts content that I think you'll find to be unique. And Daniel, I hope you'll give me just 1 second to just again extend my biggest and most amazingly heartfelt thank you to you. The work that you're doing and the voice that you're giving is hopeful to so many people just like me, and also to Dr. Warda, who's and just giving me the chance to see him today. There will never be words of how much I appreciate that. So thank you.
I mean, what can I say? You're welcome. You know, I want to talk about how subjectively insufficient it feels and how totally inadequate to that acknowledgement I feel, but that would be just more self-absorption. So I'll just take it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And
it's like I say to people all the time, how are you so arrogant to be so small, you know?
But it's these little small things. I think that this is such an important point you're making, though. It's just these little texts that I send him and that he sends me. It's just these little connections of humanity that make you realize that you are more connected than you feel like you are. I cannot even imagine the isolation and the disconnection that he feels every single day. And I wish I could reach through the world and fix that for him. I cannot, but what I can do is tell him that people who love him and people who are fighting for him are here, and we are not going anywhere, ever.
Yeah.
I will never stop, ever.
I mean, and he's doing that under the worst conditions. Whatever I'm doing under the best conditions. Like everything I do is done in the absolute lap of everything I need fulfilled. And so
but it is,
we're not going to, no, I'm not saying that to be guilty or to dismiss it. I'm saying it's just a reminder to myself of that difference. And it's a reminder to all of us that we can appreciate what we have and do what we can at the same time. And I don't think Dr. Warda is looking at us being like, check your privilege, blah, 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 blah. We're all doing what we can, but the humbling, I mean, I need to remind myself of this every hour, every time I enjoy something by the grace of God, you know, like it's just, and what am I going to put some of that sustenance towards? I'm getting every need fed, I'm getting every need met. Well, how much of that do I need? How much of that could I redirect? How much of that can I give back?
Yes, and I think that's a valid and very important thing for us all to kind of, I have definitely reorganized my financial thoughts about what I need and don't need, and I've reorganized my priorities in terms of my time and attention. I am,
I have a
just...
surprise for you.
Hello.
Hi, doctor.
Hi.
Talk to us. It's dark
I'm
there.
sorry, complete darkness, no electricity now. But it's well.
How are you guys feeling? How do you have a place good to stay tonight?
Before 5 minutes, a little bumping near to our. I see the ambulance and a lot of ambulance after the bumping. Now we are already waiting. What will happen?
So you're waiting for the ambulances to show up with people.
Yeah.
Got you.
And you will spend all night with no lights. It's just dark all night. This is just the regular thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no light.
How do you find your way around?
What?
How do you navigate in the dark? Such a stupid question, but it doesn't matter.
Can't.
A lot of times.
Hello.
We hear you.
Yeah. Now I hear.
Okay. Do you use your phone for light to walk to find your way around?
Flashlight. Yeah. Flashlight. Light.
Flashlight. Yeah. What else do you
Because
want to tell?
something.
What else do you want to tell us? We've been talking about you. We've been sending people to your fundraiser. What else do you want us to know in this precious time we have together? Oh, we lost him. Yeah. Well, it feels arbitrary to name any moment to end this, but I think now is the moment for me to, and let's do this again.
Thank you
God willing.
So much for these connections, Daniel. Thank you. And yes, I'm here. Please, please. And folks, thank you everyone who stayed around and listened to this story. My heart is so full. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll turn the comments on for the next minute, and then I'll log out, because
and to the folks asking, we've had this issue constantly because it is just, dark. It's not just like where he's at in a room is dark. I'm talking like everything is dark. There are no lights anywhere. Usually if he's able to send me anything at night is because the flares light it up if before and after bombings.
I'm just writing to him.
And if any of you guys have connections to Dr. Mark Hill, I really am trying to get connected with him.
Oh yeah.
I'm a big fan, and I've been emailing him. He's probably one of the busiest people on the planet, so I know it's very difficult.
What are you looking for from Mark?
Well, I would really love a chance for Mark to interview Dr. Warda. I know that's more difficult than it seems, but my hope was that we could connect with another journalist friend I have and maybe set up a remote link or something like that. I think it might be bold to ask that be put on Al Jazeera English, but even if it was just on his channel, because of the folks that he's connected to, I just feel like that would be just a big windfall for the campaign. And he knows me digitally as Bullet the Bunny, and I am trying, I don't want to be disrespectful to people and their time. This is very difficult for people. The scheduling is impossible. We're on all these times. It's just difficult. So, but if you guys are interested in seeing Dr. Hill, interview him, please, I hope you'll reach out to him and tell him that.
Yeah, I can't promise anything. I don't know how many degrees of separation I am from him, maybe one or two. I think it would have to coincide with he's looking to hear about the situation on the ground from a doctor, not just to do a fundraising interview. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, exactly.
But I
And
think,
that's what.
but journalistically, it's right there with what he's been doing. So, yeah, I'm not gonna
No,
promise anything,
no, no.
but
Anyway,
I'll put some feelers out. Yeah.
sure.
All right, folks.
Thank you,
Thank you
Daniel.
so
Have a
much for
wonderful
tuning in.
Sunday,
You
friend.
too.
God bless
And
you.
I mean,
God bless.
hold on. You thanked me. Let us thank you. What you're doing, putting yourself in the emotional danger zone like this, being a link between Dr. Warda and the world, and like you can't not feel this. Like you are taking so many ones for the team, and just your heart and your love and your care and your fierce anger and um, just all of it, just powerfully shines through the screen, and we're all feeling it. So thank you for that. It's inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I will take that and treasure it. Thank you.
All right, folks. Bye for now. Be safe.